Okay, it's Erev Shabbos. We always learn a little bit of the Holy Zeta, the Maharal Prague, usually from the Aryeh on the Parshas or some other from the Sifrei Maharal. And tonight is actually Nittel, according to the Julian calendar, which is what's followed in a lot of the Eastern Hasidic communities. I always was upset at Chabad that they switched it, because they're Russian, obviously. They should keep it today too, but they don't, and I feel it's a little bit nasty why they do that, because to me it's more to remember a historical aspect and not something that we're currently worried about. So that's why I keep this one usually. I try to, and although I could always say, well, next year I'm keeping the other one, so I keep the other. I could always switch, but in any event, I have a lot of learning I have to chaperein today before Shkia, right? So I'm not learning Nittelnacht. So chaperein chapen. But anyway, it's so important for me to learn with you all, and to especially to connect to my holy ancestor, the Maharal in Prague, and so therefore we are still learning this. It should be noted that it's my ancestor, the Chavas Yoer, who is the first sefer that we have that mentions Nittelnacht. And I think that was before the change to the Gregorian calendar, so it would have also been this time. Anyway, let's look at before we learn the Maharal, let's look at Rashi, of course. So we know in the beginning of chapter 49 of Genesis, which, as I had mentioned, that's the chapter that George Washington had open when he was inaugurated. He didn't have a Superman comic book because there were no Superman comic books, but he had a Bible because there was a Bible back then. I think that's a very strong statement, if you know what I'm talking about. One of the congressmen, Rahman al-Islam, is an atheist, and he's swearing in also on the Constitution for Shtay, but he's going to have a Superman comic book when he swears in. Choizik from the ganze Zach. That's a bigger choizik than trying. I know people. I have my own ideas about what's going on. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But George Washington, and the thing was, Jefferson, he didn't believe that the Christian Bible was 100% true. Nonetheless, he swore in on the Bible, right? He didn't swear in on Common Sense by Thomas Paine, who was an atheist, right? Or some kind of agnostic something. So anyway, I digress. And I'm not a Christian, obviously. I'm a very Hasidic Jew, and I only believe in our Tanakh. I don't believe in their books. But there's something there that, as far as respect, history, so forth, and to go and swear into Congress on a Superman comic book, it's interesting, it's entertaining, it's kind of funny, it's joke-worthy, but it's also very sad. V'gida luchem, right? So in Genesis 49 verse 1, Rashi says, when the verse says, V'gida lechem, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in the end of days. And it's bikish legalus saketz nistalka mimenu shechina. Ve'ischaloim advorim achirim. So Jacob wanted to reveal to his sons the end of eschatology. And he wasn't able to talk about it, so he started talking about other things. The Shechina left, so he didn't have that revelation anymore. So he started talking about other things. Interesting Rashi there. And I think it's important to note that if Yaakov Avinu could not be Megala the Kates, if Jacob was not able to reveal eschatology in an open way, we cannot either, and we don't know about it, and we shouldn't even talk about it. Even though it feels like to us, like, look, all the things going on in the world, this must be the end times. It doesn't have to be the end times. We have no guarantee that this is end times. We have no guarantee of when, where, what. We don't know. So we just have to be patient. We know it's going to happen eventually. But we could go through a lot of travails and tribulations, and then we could wait again. We went through a Holocaust and we didn't get Mashiach. And part of that is because there were people who doiches akates, and they were doiches akates, and then they made all the tzuras for us. We know what that's about. Mistama, Mashiach would have come if it wasn't for what happened 2 years after, on Eretz Yisrael. And then people make a whole yontiv out of that we don't have Mashiach. This is that they settled for less. This is and that could happen again. One thing, there's one of the COs at the jail. I don't see this person there anymore, so I don't know if maybe this CO went to a different time, because I know when they're new, they move them around, whatever it is, different times, different places. It doesn't really matter, that's not the point. So, whenever this person would see me, this person would say, oh, you heard what's going on, the red heifer in Israel, and this and that. I knew the person was a Christian. And I said to this person, I said, well, this could be the tribulation temple and the Antichrist. And he said, well, how do you know about that stuff? I said, well, I know, but also the truth is, both of those things, we don't have the same eschatology as the Christians. But the concept, even though doctrinally it's different, the concept of Antichrist appears in Jewish works. He's called Armilus Harasha, and Armilus the Wicked. He's going to come from Rome. Of course, this could all be a legend. Doesn't necessarily have to be literally true. But we have such things in classical Orthodox Jewish texts. And one of the Sfarim, one of the commentaries on the Medrash there, says Masha Karam Balaz Antichrist, the one that's called in the foreign language Antichrist. So that's the it is a Jewish idea. Again, it's not the devil the way the Christians think it is. It's just a wicked person who is the opposite of Mashiach. Just like Lahavdil, also the Mashiach is not God. Like the Christians believe the Messiah is God, and they believe the Antichrist is the devil, and we don't believe that. First of all, we don't see God and the devil as opposites the way many Christians do, which some Christians admit is wrong. But also, I remember one, I think it was David Jeremiah, he said, no, the opposite of the devil is not God, the opposite of the devil is the Archangel Michael. It's a little bit more in line. So anyway, it's neither here nor there. These things are all very interesting things to talk about. But in any event, you have that aspect, but you also have something else, is that the Christians talk about the tribulation temple, that there'll be a false temple that the Antichrist will go into. This part about Armilus and this being attached to the false temple, this I don't know. This I never saw. But a false temple before Mashiach comes, a false Beis HaMikdash, the Heilige Rishner talks about that. You don't even have to go back to Midrashim. We have contemporaries almost, meaning someone in the last 200-300 years, the Heilige Rishner, he spoke, Rabbi Israel Friedman, who was himself somewhat of a messianic figure. And I know, a lot of the that is one of the Hasidic groups that has, similar to Chabad. I know Chabad, they claim all Hasidim think their Rebbe is Mashiach. That's not true. Obviously, the Tosher Rebbe is a Levi, and the Toldosaran Rebbe is a Kohen. They can't be Mashiach. So it's nonsense to say all Hasidim think that their Rebbe is Mashiach. However, I think the Rishoners, they do have such an inyan. So it was those two, it was Chabad and Rishon, that had such an inyan. Not that I believe this. First of all, to believe anybody's Mashiach before the Mashiach is stupid, because you're not Mashiach until you're Mashiach. It could be maybe Bechezkas Mashiach, like the Rambam says, but even that, we don't have anybody who's Bechezkas Mashiach. But until you do all the things, you're not Mashiach. Right? You're not the King Messiah. You could be anointed for something, like even non-Jews were called Mashiach, were called anointed, like Koresh, King Cyrus, in the book of Isaiah, is called Mashiach, my anointed one, my Mashiach, my Messiah. But nonetheless, obviously, he's not Mashiach ben David. He's not the Messiah from the house of David, that the promised eschatological Messiah. It means that he's appointed, and that way, every tzaddik, every Yid could be a Mashiach like that, and every non-Jew who is pious and good and doing something to help the world. Even a Donald Trump could be a Mashiach, like Koresh, like Cyrus, but doesn't mean that he's Mashiach ben David. Obviously not, because he's not even Jewish as far as we know. Right? He's been a good friend of the Jewish people. He was a real King Cyrus of our day. And any event, that's neither here nor there. But and you see how the Yetzer Hara works. I spent 12 minutes now. I told you I have to finish my Bava Metzia before Shkia. I only have a few hours left, 2 hours left, 2.5 hours, and I still have to go to the mikveh, and I do 4 blot a day, and I only did 1 Amud so far, so I'm only 1/8 of what I have to do, and I should be learning with you the Maharal. Instead, I'm schmoozing. This is why I could never keep a chavrusa in yeshiva. Anyway, let's get back to what we were saying. Bikesh legalois es haketz. He wanted to reveal the end times. He wanted to reveal the eschatology. So anyway, the point that I was saying with Yenner, with what was I saying? He wanted to reveal the eschatology. So we could have, like I said, we could even have an Armalus Arosha, and we could have also a false Beis HaMikdash. That still doesn't mean Mashiach is here. And doesn't mean Mashiach is going to come right after that too. We could be another 50 years, 100 years, but it could also be Hayom Mekolish Shmo. It could also be today if you listen to God's voice. And it could be today even Ad Kedei Kach, even though they say that Leo Novi can't come Friday and Shabbos, but it's already Pekuach Nefesh, and Pekuach Nefesh is Deiches HaShabbos. So it could be right now, and it could be 200 years from now. We don't know. But don't get fooled if they build a Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim or somewhere else, to think that means that Mashiach is here, because it doesn't. When the real Beis HaMikdash comes, it's going to come from Shemayim. So Rashi says, and it's already built in Shemayim, and the Archangel Michael and Eliyahu, they're up there and they're bringing korbanos for us. So we still have the korbanos are being brought for us in Shemayim. That's what Chazal say. But but don't think if they get together and they build the Beis HaMikdash. Right now, there's all this focus on the Har Bayis and all this. They very well might. You have these religious right-wing extremists, not Haredim, but who are now in the Knesset Aminim, and they could very well build a Beis HaMikdash. Don't get fooled by that. That's not what we're waiting for. Don't settle for that. Just like they settled for this and they say it's a third commonwealth, it's not. We're waiting for something that's going to be world peace, real world peace. Not, again, I know the Christians say that the Antichrist is going to claim world peace and not going to be. What I'm talking about is a total change in the heart of every human being. That's what the Rambam says is going to be. It's not like the Christians say. It's not like the Tzionim say. It's something totally different. It's something that basically, the way one of my teachers who has some Zionist ideas, although I think he's kind of cooled down on it, he says that it'll be the next step in human evolution. And that sounds kind of scary and spooky to us and uncomfortable for some of us who are a little bit more fundamentalist, but that's what it's going to be. And part of that is V'chol Kadosh Avimai, that our cousins who made it to other places, escaped before the Mabul and before other times, and before the other Mabul before that, and even before Adam Rishon, are going to come back also. We got to know the right ones and the wrong ones. That's what we got to know. Anyway, Bikesh Legalis Akates. Jacob sought to reveal, it says in Rashi, the end time eschatology. We derive that from the scripture, because Jacob tells his sons to gather around, and I'm going to tell you that was going to happen to you at the end of days, or the last days. We don't find such a thing. The 200 years are called the end of days. Meaning we have the old generations where people would live for 150 years. And this is only like 80 or 100 years. That's not called the end of days. Furthermore, this that's going to happen to you, it means it's going to happen on its own. This is not a type of thing of a blessing. Blessings come from the energy that the blessing of the person giving the blessing, the blesser. But maybe this prophecy of the end times is talking about the tribes of Reuben, Simeon, and Levi, who Jacob spoke to them and spoke about them, but didn't bless them, right? And he rebuked them, right? Also, it's not in accordance to what we said. It's not connected to what said that which will happen to you. Because he never told them something that's going to happen in the end. And so again, this is the whole theme of the Aryeh. Most of the time is what's bothering Rashi, and that's what's bothering, is that we don't see any mention of what's going to happen in the end times, and so therefore we must say that the Shekhinah left, the power of prophecy left Yaakov Avinu, and therefore he was like this. Let's do an adult one, all right? Especially made it this far, right? Yaakov says Reuven is first one, Reishis Oini, my first strength. Hitipa Rishoina. Shleirah Keri Miyamav. He says it means that Reuben was the first drop of semen that was ever emitted from Jacob, because Jacob never had an improper emission until he impregnated his wife Leah. So that must have come from that first night, right? So anyway, the only thing is, the Gemara in Yevamah says that a woman, when she loses her virginity, cannot get pregnant. That's what the Gemara claims. There are those that disagree. That's what the Gemara says. Shnei biyasbal. So therefore, it must be that Jacob had intercourse twice that night with Leah, which we're not allowed to do halachically on the first night, right? If there's blood, because the dam psulim, after the first bia, it's it. If it's not dam psulim, but we're assuming that Leah Imenu was besula, that she was a virgin. In any event, that was before the Torah was given. Anyway, the Gemara in Eruvin says that if someone wants to have sons, he should have intercourse twice in a row. The reason for that is because what the Gemara says is that if the man doesn't satisfy his wife, he'll have a girl. And if he satisfies his wife before he has his satisfaction, he'll have a boy. That's what the Gemara says. So the way to make sure to satisfy the wife is to copulate twice. Anyway, not everyone can do that, but that's not every wife wants that. Whatever it is, but that's what the Gemara says. Since these two drops of semen together, that's how she was pregnant. This Abram, she was impregnated by that. Vayechi Mefarshim, but some explain like this: B'shvil shahayu mois b'savus. Muhammad told us ma'aku be'etzba shelo yeh zera levatola. So the better answer, it seems, from the Chizkuni, is that, like we said, a woman who is and that could answer both questions, because a woman who is a virgin, according to that opinion of the Gemara, she can't get pregnant. So the Gemara says that they, with their own finger, broke the hymen, the psulim, and this way they were able to be pregnant right away, in order that she should be pregnant right away. All right, I don't like to make zugas, so we'll do a third one, and this one is I don't even know. Chetziv Kametz v'Chetziv Pasach. I don't know where this is. It's half a Kametz and half a Pasach. The Kametz is that little T, makes the A sound, and the Pasach is a straight horizontal line that makes the A sound. My Amar Shamar Zochar, Amar Shamar Zochar, starts with an A and then an A. Shu Avar, that's past tense. We call Avar Lashon Yachid. Binyan Akal Chetziv Kametz v'Chetziv Pasach. I can't open that Rashi, and I don't know exactly what we're talking about. Now let's see, is it there? I don't know. I don't see it. All right, but we did 3. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. I will see you later. All right. How do I turn this thing off?